Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Department of Energy for having this hearing and inviting me to offer a few comments today. By way of background, I should mention that Velco, Vermont Electric Power Company, or Velco, was established in 1956 when Vermont's local utilities joined together to establish the nation's first statewide transmission-only company. Electricity, as everyone in this room knows, is critical to our economy and the quality of life of our citizens. We tend to focus, as we should, on the issues associated with having too little transmission capacity because the consequences are so clear. Degradation in service quality, higher power costs due to congestion, the inability to meet all customer needs at peak times, and in the extreme blackouts. Although we can never compromise on meeting reliability standards, our electric transmission grid also needs to be affordable. No one has perfect vision of how customer demand for electricity will change over time, but we need to be careful not to consistently err on the side of overbuilding transmission. And it may sound funny coming from a transmission-only company, but we really believe that. There are very real costs associated with having too much transmission. Economic costs, because those facilities are included in the rates paid by customers, and environmental costs associated with the construction of new facilities. In terms of evaluating future transmission infrastructure needs, it makes sense, both economic and environmental sense, to thoroughly consider non-transmission alternatives. Striking the balance between too little transmission infrastructure and too much is not easy. We suggest a three-pronged strategy to help address this question and help ensure that there is adequate transmission capacity in place at a reasonable cost to customers. Specifically, as a region, we suggest that we should make sure we are, 1, implementing all cost-effective energy efficiency, 2, expanding to the fullest extent possible the amount of price-responsive demand on the system, and 3, fully integrating the increasing volume of distributed energy resources into our resource planning efforts. I'll describe each of these points very briefly. First, with respect to energy efficiency, plain and simple, if we are not implementing all the cost-effective energy efficiency that we can, we're going to build too much infrastructure. Energy efficiency, as we've heard this morning, is the most cost-effective way to meet customer needs from both an economic and environmental perspective. You don't need infrastructure to meet a load that doesn't exist. And as I will discuss more fully later, targeted energy efficiency efforts can play a key role in deferring or eliminating the need for new transmission facilities. I'm not talking about the sorts of transmission facilities that would import thousands of megawatts of new power into the region, but just the general reinforcement of our grid. I think most would agree that New England is a leader in energy efficiency, and I would suggest that other regions could benefit from considering the approaches that have been implemented here. Second, in terms of price-responsive demand, the vast majority of electric consumers in New England pay for electricity on a per kilowatt-hour basis that does not change with the changing cost of electricity in the wholesale market. Because of this dislocation, most customers have no incentive whatsoever to reduce consumption when wholesale power costs are high or shift usage to times when costs are low. Thanks in large part to a $69 million smart grid investment grant from the Department of Energy, Vermont now has smart meters in place for more than 90% of its customers. This investment is already providing benefits in terms of improved customer service and reduced labor costs. But more needs to be done to fully realize the potential of this new technology and increase the use of price-responsive load to defer or eliminate the need for construction of new transmission facilities. As a suggestion, although it's already on an area of focus for DOE, we suggest an increased emphasis on studying how best to influence or change customer behavior and evaluating technologies to automate demand response activity. Finally, with respect to integrating distributed energy resources, New England, like much of the country, is experiencing a significant increase in the number of distributed energy resources. There can be no doubt that these resources provide real value to the grid. The challenge is determining that value and then integrating it into the regional transmission planning process led by ISO New England. Notwithstanding economic incentives to the contrary, in 2013, Velco, in collaboration with other entities of Vermont and ISO New England, avoided a $157 million transmission upgrade. This was accomplished by targeting investment in energy efficiency, incremental net metering, and incremental renewable distributed energy resources to specific geographic locations. If savings such as this are possible by targeting investments to specific areas in Vermont, it stands to reason that significantly larger benefits could be achieved if a similar approach were applied more broadly in New England. I suggest that as part of the Quadrennial Energy Review, DOE consider an expanded emphasis on non-transmission alternatives as you deliberate. Thank you for the opportunity to present these comments, and I look forward to questions.
Okay. Thank you for the